The dead internet theory first appeared in 2021, and it has since gained a lot of popularity. According to the theory, most of what we see online is fake. It states that human activity has largely, if not entirely, been replaced by bots and algorithms which serve us automatically generated content. The internet we've once known has become empty, like a Potemkin village propped up by AI. The theory also asserts that this is a coordinated government effort designed to manipulate us, but let's leave out the conspiracy portion and just focus on the part that seems like it might be correct. Dead internet theory has largely gained its popularity because it's observable. It describes quantifiable phenomena, which we've all experienced to a certain degree, such as increased bot traffic. As early as 2016, the security company Imperva released a report stating that bots have accounted for 52% of all web traffic. And that's only an average. In some countries, bot activity has been frighteningly dominant. According to researchers, the advent of generative AI could mean the internet will soon become completely unrecognizable. Practically all content will be AI generated within the next 5 years. A notion which feels entirely plausible given the current state of affairs. Even today, we come across AI slop on a daily basis, and you can't be entirely sure the person you're communicating with is actually a human. Every day, it's becoming more and more likely that there's no living person on the other side of the screen. And there is one movie that to me eerily captures the emptiness of this new reality. In 2001, director Kiyoshi Kurosawa released Pulse. It's one of the prime examples of late 90s and early 2000s Japanese horror, and it's also one of his best movies. Similar to The Ring, One Missed Call, or the anime serial Experiments Lain, Pulse focuses on modern technology. It turns consumer electronics into a source of alienation, sadness, and terror. The whole film is steeped in a strong atmosphere of dread, and it features some of the creepiest scenes ever committed to celluloid. Its depiction of ghosts is incredibly haunting and feels somehow realistic. If ghosts did actually exist, surely this is what they would look like. But where are they coming from? The story of Pulse sounds a bit preposterous on paper. It's about ghosts invading our world through the internet, presumably because the afterlife has become full. Luckily, Kurosawa's execution elevates this odd premise to something much less silly, though Pulse remains far from a conventional narrative. It often includes sudden plot developments. It seems to meander a bit towards the end, and its meaning is quite impenetrable. It explores death and loneliness in ways which gradually move the film away from its initial promise of a J-horror ghost flick. Individual sequences in Pulse are stronger than the movie as a whole, and any viewer who thinks it's too long or too strange will be forgiven for finding it flawed. The film follows two plot lines which eventually converge as its two protagonists meet. There's Ryosuke, a student who experiences strange activity on his computer. After it starts accessing the web all by itself and displaying disturbing images, Ryosuke seeks answers at his school's computer lab. There he meets Haruo, a post-grad computer science student who provides him with some tech support and gradually befriends him. When she experiences her own dose of creepy online activity, Haruo comes to the conclusion that ghosts are trying to trap the living in their loneliness. She has always been a loner herself, and she embraces the loneliness offered by a ghost. Meanwhile, the staff of a plant shop have their own strange encounters, both online and offline. When Taguchi doesn't come to work, his colleague Michi goes to look for him at his apartment, only to find him dead seconds after she apparently talked to him. Another colleague, Yabe, visits the apartment as well and discovers a clue that Taguchi may have entered some sort of forbidden room. Yabe goes inside a sealed-off house and stumbles into one of the scariest scenes in cinema history. One by one, the other plant shop employees experience hauntings and eventually vanish, leaving Michi all alone. Michi and Ryosuke meet as the emptied world starts to collapse around them. Ryosuke confronts a ghost who tells him that death is eternal loneliness. He is gravely affected by the encounter, but Michi drags him away and they board a ship that sails away from the ghost-infested mainland. The romantic idea of the internet as something meant to connect us is a thing of the past, and the film's much more cynical take now feels prophetic. The internet alienates people and brings about loneliness and misery. Throughout the movie, we encounter various characters who are at best alone and at worst lonely. But being online doesn't help them make any connection. They only find empty rooms or empty shells of humans. The internet is portrayed as something that sucks you up and makes you disappear instead of participating in everyday life. Here, the hikikomori phenomenon immediately comes to mind. It's a form of severe social withdrawal, which usually involves young adults locking themselves in their rooms and shunning all social contact. But the idea of lonesome social withdrawal is more universal than that, and certainly more common than hikikomori cases from Japan. Loss of identity and isolation can be seen daily as people worry more about their online image, lose track of things that actually matter, become hollowed out by doom scrolling, or radicalized by disinformation. But what about these ghosts in the machine? A new, perhaps more literal interpretation of Pulse can be that of an internet flooded with facsimiles of humans. Chat rooms, social media, news articles, they're all just a dead landscape created and roamed by uncontrollable forces. In the world of Pulse, and increasingly in the real world, the computer screen has a mind of its own. The film instills technology with malice by showing how it is being taken over by inhuman entities. A user seeking to make a human connection only finds a sort of nothingness. In the third act, the world is shown to be empty as all of the city's inhabitants disappeared. Michi and Ryosuke are like the last two humans searching a hollowed-out internet, where other people used to be, but vanished to be replaced by bots. These characters have the choice to save themselves by going offline and running away. There's a boat in the middle of nowhere with a handful of others who disconnected. Or they can accept their fate and embrace the online emptiness. We might not like the idea of regurgitated AI content and fake bot accounts, but what are our alternatives? To log off and leave it all behind us? Or to accept that the online activity we've become addicted to has now become a sort of purgatory? We won't find the human connection we were once promised. The dream is over. But if the connections we seek are only as superficial as a comment reply or an additional like, maybe it doesn't matter if your next notification comes from human activity, a bot, or even a ghost. If you let AI trap you in its loneliness, perhaps together you will not be alone. Thank you for watching, and if you're a human being, please hit subscribe.